Okay, I think that I'm live. I've never done this before, so I have no idea. Let's see here. What's like a good... Ooh, it's a good 90s filter. I can run with that. Oh yeah, I like that. That's throwback. All right, let me see here. Going live for the first time ever. Don't know what I'm doing. Oh, wait, what did I just do? Oh, oh my God. What are you doing?
I'm getting ready to talk about a movie with you.
Oh, cool. I'm getting ready to talk about a movie too.
Really?
Yeah,
What movie?
just a scary movie.
Do you like scary movies?
Yeah, they're the best.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Scream.
Oh, well, that would have been awkward if you had, a different answer like Jennifer's Body or something. Thank you for appreciating my movie.
I didn't say it to please you.
You got a boyfriend?
Why does that matter? Having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. That doesn't define me.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name? You're so weird.
I want to know who I'm looking at.
Is that supposed to be scary? Because we're literally, I can see you too. You're like literally right there.
Oh, I thought we were going to go out.
Ew.
Oh,
Why would I ever?
because look at this long, gorgeous face.
Yeah, hard pass, Ghostface. Get me out of here. How do I even get you off? Oh, he's gone. Oh my God, guys. That was like really scary. What was that? Oh my God, what? That was really weird. Did everybody see that? Oh my God. Like, I think that was Ghostface, guys. Oh my God. Ew. Ew, I think Ghostface just hit on me. I'm like really stressed. Oh my God. Where is Andy? I'm supposed to do this live with him. Where is he? I'm so scared. Hello?
Hey, it's Randy.
Wait, Andy, are you Ghostface?
No, what are you
No,
talking about?
you're totally Ghostface. You just came on your own Instagram and then came back.
I don't know if that evidence would fly in court. Really, it could. Someone else had my phone. I don't know.
No,
But
it's
I'm here now. I don't know who you just were talking to, but you got Andy. You got Andy, and yeah.
no, no, it's totally you. You can't be in two places at once. It's like the number one rule, right? In a scary movie. So you're obviously the killer.
Well, yeah, it's not important. It's not important.
It's not important. You're creepy. That's creepy, dude. Like you're a serial killer.
Well, don't you? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kat. I wasn't being honest with you. The truth is, I only know how to express my feelings through violence or sex. I I'm a toxic white male. Look at me. I don't know how to cope with my feelings. I learned how to live life from the movies, for God's sake. Can you blame me? That's all I know.
I mean, that's really fucked up, Andy. Like you're
It
really
really is. It really is fucked up. And you know what? Let's talk about how fucked that up that is, Kat, because welcome everyone that has joined us to an exciting, thrilling IG Live installment of Movies with Friends, Scream Movies with Friends. That's right. And Joining me, I'm joining her, my co-host, writer, podcaster, and scream queen, Kat Pettibone. Woo! Yeah.
Scream queen indeed.
Can we scream together?
I don't know if my neighbors would appreciate that. They might actually think that I'm getting murdered by a serial killer if I scream right now.
I have that thought a lot because Lily just is a screamer. Like in terms of just like a bug will like pop in like around and she'll just scream out of her mind.
Okay, I was like,
yeah, I know that
that
sounded worse than I meant, and I think she probably heard that, and I'll get yelled at later. But that's not what I meant. I meant, oh man, this is getting off. I'm back to Randy.
I'm so sorry to Andy's wife.
But Kat, before we go any further, this is the part one of 4 installments. We are going to combine Scream 2 and 3 because you didn't say it was worth 2. And we are going to build up to the new Scream, which is coming out on Friday. But I think we can watch it Wednesday, Thursday in LA. We all know. And
for the lucky ones.
Exactly. The lucky ones. Yes. And Kat, we wanted to watch these movies together because I've never seen 3, 4. And
which is crazy, but yeah.
I'm crazy. We've already established that, I think.
That's true. Yeah. For many reasons.
For many, and we'll keep collecting reasons why that is. But also, Scream. You weren't lying to Ghostface earlier. Is this your favorite horror movie?
Oh, hands down, one of my favorite movies. Period, in any genre.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's just dive in. It is streaming on Peacock TV. Same with the second one. Take Kat's password. I will say it right about. No, I won't reveal the password. But yeah, let's just do this. Oh, before we get any further though, I will say we are doing this in conjunction with a fundraiser for the YWCA, an organization, nonprofit that's dedicated to empowering women, eliminating racism, and combating domestic violence is the wrong verb, but stopping domestic violence. And I think there is definitely a theme of that in Scream or slasher movies in general. So that's why we chose that. So if you could, there's fundraising information all over our Instagrams and all that stuff. Yeah. But okay, Kat, take us back in time. When did little Kat see this movie for the first time?
Okay, so I have seen this movie so many times that it's really hard for me to remember the specific first time that I ever was introduced. But I can say I was 9 or 8 when it came out, I want to say. And I definitely watched it too early, too young. Because the first scene, the opening sequence with Drew Barrymore, has been burned in my memory and traumatized me when I was little. I have such clear, vivid memories of nightmares of that moment. And it was I think it might have been my first introduction to scary movies, way before it should have been. So
your
I was
first blood.
I was definitely super young, but I've seen it a million times since then. So I have sense memory, but not a specific moment in time. And I have no idea how I would have been introduced to it at 9 years old, but
yeah, I was going to ask if it was one of those things that because it would be in the theaters at 9, but it would have taken a while to be on TV.
Right. It was probably VHS. I don't think I was sneaking in to Scream at 9 years old, but so it was definitely VHS throwback, but I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, do you remember if you were alone or if you were with a group of friends, if there was any peer pressure involved? I'm trying to bring it open.
I want to say it was with my cousin because he was always kind of a daredevil like that. And he liked seeing those kind of movies when we were little. So I want to say my cousin and I thought we were being really badass and we watched it together.
And you were, and that's how trauma happens. Well done.
And here we are.
And yeah, let's cheers to your cousin. And this is just water. Even serial killers drink water.
You gotta hydrate.
Yeah, you gotta hydrate if you're gonna scare people. And I was gonna ask, do you remember because you said it imprinted, the Drew Barrymore scene, which I think is probably the best scene in the movie. There are moments after, but for whole sequences, I think that one, it's just a great opening scene. And of course, it evokes so many other things that we're gonna get into. But do you remember what was the most scary? just the call, the creepy voice, or the actual violence?
That was definitely scary, but the first memory I have of it is Steve's guts coming out of his stomach. That was the moment where I was like, oh my God, I'm in for something really over my head here. And that is the first moment of trauma that I can recall from this film. And then the next one obviously would be the scene of her, the zoom in of her hanging from the tree, which is like really visceral.
Yes.
And like not for a 9-year-old's eyes. So
no, that's not for a 9-year-old.
No,
well, whose eyes? Whose is it? Like, is there an age where that's okay? Seeing a dead woman?
You know, it still gets me now. So probably.
Yeah,
not.
no, that, and it's that one I think is evoking Suspiria. If I had to give it a movie reference there, but I mean it's its own thing in terms of a hanging woman and that sort of gore. And it was foreshadowed by Ghostface. You know, like he wants to see her insides. And
that's true. I will say now that I'm older and when I rewatch it, because it's still a scary movie to me, just because I find any movie where it feels plausible to some degree is always scarier to me than like Aliens or like something like that. And I find the scariest thing to be the phone calls now, just because of how, as a single woman who lives alone, like how terrifying that actually would be. And when he actually, and it's funny because we just kind of did a little bit on this, but what's your name? I want to know who I'm looking at is honestly one of the most terrifying moments, like, and lines of the entire film, in my opinion. And it's delivered so well by Robert Jackson, who does the voice of Ghostface or whatever, but he's just literally so scary in that moment. Like now, if that were to happen to me, I mean, whew, that's horrifying.
A lot of bodily fluids would be exiting me if that happened.
Yes.
Well, and the way it was shot with like the turn to the glass was so good.
Right.
By director Wes Craven. We didn't actually say that. And written by our god, our hero, Kevin Williamson. Yeah, our hero, Dawson's Creek fame, which don't worry, I have bullet points about Dawson's Creek. That's for Elliot out there. I think he's still here, and he's groaning because he's never watched it. But it's in my brand to bring up Dawson's Creek, and I think you as well. That's how we met, really. Was talking about teen dramas. So, but yeah, for me, when Scream hit me, I don't remember either. I was older. I think I wasn't as cool as you, as brave and fearless with horror movies.
It's hard to be.
Yeah, I know. So I think it was like high school probably. But it didn't have this indelible impression on me because of it. That's why I think it's always great to watch these movies too early. I'm gonna accidentally leave really disturbing movies for my kids.
For your children. A+ parenting, buddy.
Yeah. Well, like, that's the way I'll curate it. I'll be like, oh no, you saw my Possession DVD? Oh no. Actually, no, that one, you have to be a little bit older for that one. I can't even handle that. But I think this is the third time I've seen it, so not infinite like you. But I think it was a group setting, and those are both the best. And sometimes if it's the first time watching it, it kind of takes away because people are talking over it and you're not getting the full.
I agree.
But you are getting the party aspect, like that scene with the party where everyone's breaking down the movie. That's basically what you're living. And that meta mirror back and forth was very, I guess, prescient on Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven. But let's see, who's your biggest crush in this movie?
In this movie?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna go with Randy. I think when I was younger, yeah, I know. When I was younger, it definitely would have been Billy, Skeet Ulrich, like hello, like gorgeous. And I'm tempted to really say Stu because it's hard not to crush on Matthew Lillard no matter what he's doing. I'm obsessed with him to this day. And I think his performance is probably the best in the film. Like he's my favorite performance.
Yes.
But crush wise, I'm gonna go with Randy. Yeah.
Interesting. Wait, so what about him now? Like, you know, I don't know how I don't know. Jamie Kennedy, I think, is great in the movie. And you sort of casted me as him because of Andy. That's the only reason why. I don't think I look like Jamie Kennedy. If only. No.
It really doesn't have to do with what Randy looks like. It's his part in the movie, I think. He's so smart. And if you're watching the film and if you watch it once and you see everything that happens and you go back and you listen to all his lines of dialogue, he's got it all figured out the entire time. He's telling everybody, I know exactly what's happening here, and this is the end. And he's such a good guy. I don't know, I just love him. He's just so funny and cute. He's just adorable. And like, he's not a psychopath killer. So
well, yeah, I was gonna say the bar's low in terms of good men in this movie.
exactly.
So yeah, I guess he wins the prize there. Or Dewey, David Arquette, I suppose, but he's just sort of Dewey. That's, you know, it's
I mean,
insane.
like, he's a good guy and he's adorable. We all love Dewey. You know, we want him to survive always. But like, do we want to date him? Like, Gail can have him, you know?
Yeah, Gail can have him. My favorite line in the movie, though, is David Arquette's that sequence where they're walking away and he's like, do you know that constellation? And she's like, no, what is it? And he's like, oh, I don't know. That's why I was asking you. Like,
that's so Dewey.
It's so Dewey, but I think it's also kind of the movie in a nutshell, because I think the movie is sort of showing scenes and movies and tropes that we've seen before, putting a name to them, but then sort of twisting it in a way that we didn't expect slightly.
Right. Well, the way I like to describe it is that the characters are following the rules of horror movies up into the time of Scream, like the characters specifically being Stu and Billy, who are like living out this fantasy and going by all these rules. But the movie itself is breaking all those rules. So it's just so layered in such a clever way. And it was just like nothing we had seen in horror up until that time. And it just totally changed the game. I mean, it was so self-referential in that way. That makes it so much more interesting than it otherwise would have been.
Right. And I mean, it's self-referential, like in the very literal sense that Craven's referencing himself.
Right.
And actually, how I was thinking of it is it's sort of like a remix of other horror movies, like especially Halloween. Like, it, you know, like they're using the score, John Carpenter's score. We're even seeing parts of the movie, like the actual movie in the TV, like they're watching it during the party. But it kind of reminds me of sampling lyrics and sampling music in hip hop and rap, or just all music in general. And that's what art is. We're all stealing from other people that we love and are passionate about. So I really enjoyed, I mean, as a fan, you can just see that Craven is a fan of these movies as well. And he's also,
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he loves doing horror. He didn't even want to do this movie because I think at the time he had done so much at this point in this genre, he was like, I'm uninterested. But then he read the script and was like, okay, I can't not do this. How can you not do it? It's such a smart script. It's so good and it's so different. And I mean, he was right. What him and Kevin Williamson did totally changes everything. And I think, I mean, just even from the first scene, especially like the way that they marketed the film with Drew Barrymore as, you know, the biggest name on the bill and apparently like supposed to be like the main girl, you immediately assume, oh, this is going to be the final girl, right? She's the biggest on the poster, biggest face, like everything. And she dies within the first 5 minutes. Like, that had never happened before. That's insane, you know? And they do it. Oh, well, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, so I'm not gonna continue that sentence, but
we already talked about how she was hanging from a tree.
No, I just mean in the future movies, I was gonna say something, so I don't want to spoil anything for anybody going forward.
Good, yeah.
So I won't say it, but I just think that marketing was just, I mean, so unbelievably smart. And then, you know, even down to the end where they're just breaking these rules. Like, there isn't just one final girl, there's 3 final girls, there's 2 other characters, 4 people survive. Like, that had never, like in Halloween, it was just always Jamie Lee Curtis, right? She was always the one, the only one that could survive over and over again. But this movie like changed everything up.
And it's really kind of cool that, like, not only did it change everything up, but it also sort of, it just reimagined it, re-updated. Because I mean, it is sort of an echo of Psycho, right? And, like the beginning and having the same sort of expectation of who the leading lady is. But like, and can you imagine this happening now? Like, would that would be spoiled immediately. There's no way
I know
that secret could be. People don't like secrets. People want to spoil the movie, which I never get.
I know. I'm going to see the new film on the opening night, but I've already, like, on all my social media, I've blocked like everything having to do with the movie, every hashtag, every actor, because somebody's gonna spoil it. Even journalists sometimes will spoil things. It's like horrible.
I mean, how long does that take to like? That's a good effort to block all those hashtags and things.
It took a minute. I did it for Spider-Man No Way Home and it worked. I did not get spoiled, so I was like, I'm gonna do it for Scream because I mean, there's like 1 or 2 major spoilers of a movie like that, and if you find that out, it's like, come on, that's the whole like exciting part, right? Trying to figure out who did it.
Right, exactly, and there's, I mean, because we kind of know what we're gonna get from a Scream movie, and we still, especially now that there's 4 other ones, and I'll start to learn the formula with you here as we go and how the universe expands. But yeah, you need like learning like a kill or learning who did it would just, I feel like, ruin the movie for sure. But
I want to ask you a question. When
please.
you first watched this movie, who did you think did it? Because what I think, another thing that's really interesting about this movie to me is they make it so obvious that it's Billy. Like, it's so clear that he's the killer, right? But in any other scary movie, he would, like, you're like, oh, it's so obviously him, it can't be him, you know,
Right.
because that's how any other scary movie would do it. Oh, he's a red herring. They even arrest him for it. So you're like, oh, it can't be him. He gets stabbed. Oh, it's definitely not him, you know? And then there's this really good twist. So I'm just interested, like, who did you think it was? Did you see the 2 killer part? Because that was another boundary they broke.
Right. Yeah. But it's hard to take it back to past Andy for that. I'm pretty sure I didn't know that it was multiple for sure. Okay. And that was cool. And also I think it's creepier and makes sense from I mean, what we've seen the world become, it's sort of it seems prescient in that way too, of just like, oh yeah, these bored white men that are just terrorizing people. And like expect sex or expect all these different things based on either movies or whatever.
Yeah.
I think,
well, I mean, Billy has a motive, though. Billy has, like, a complicated motive, which I think is another thing that they were trying to prove, like, that you can have a complicated motive and people, they even make a comment about it in the movie, like, the motive can't be complicated or people will lose interest, and then, like, the motive is really complicated, but then on the other side, you do have Stu, which is, like you said, like, literally zero motive for anything, just, like, a total psychopath wants to, like, murder people for fun.
Right. Well, and he's almost another red herring too, because they both seem so obvious too. Like the way they're talking about the killer, and even Jamie Kennedy. It's sort of like I wouldn't have been surprised with any of them. But then again, there's only so many options. I think there's even a version where it was our boy Henry Winkler, like because he
tried the mask on.
Yeah, but he was really creepy when in the first scene he like touches Sydney's face, and he just is he's so unhinged against those guys. But I mean, love Henry Winkler. So I forgot that he was in this movie. So that's always a surprise Winkler. You love a surprise.
He's not in it for long.
No.
So, I mean, it's understandable. He's gone pretty quick.
Yeah, but he gets some good scenes in
there. He does, for sure.
But I think to answer your question, who I thought, I mean, I knew it wasn't the dad. That was too, like, the way that clearly they were playing it as that. And he also just wasn't an actor of note. Like, you know, it's like, it's not going to be this guy that no one knows.
He's in, like, one scene.
Yeah, I think honestly, I was convinced it was still Billy. Like, I think I was just like, I think they're playing with me. I'm still gonna think it's Billy, but then that it was the 2 of them, I think surprised me the first time.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question then, because when I was rewatching this the millionth time for this chat that we're having, I was watching the scene where Sydney is kind of walking up back into the party house, and there's Stu and Randy, and they're both trying to convince her, no, it's him, I promise, and she can't decide, and she's like, fuck you both. Do you remember in that moment who you thought it was? I feel like for me, I always knew it was Stu. In that moment, I was like, oh, it's Stu. Stu's involved somehow.
Yeah, when that happened, I knew Stu was involved, but my response was, fuck them both. I think every time I've watched it, it's like, I don't know, I'm not going to flip the coin. I'm just going to close the door. That's the right answer.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have smart decisions. Like the movie plays with that. And like,
it's good to have a smart final girl. Like that's great. I love that. Like she's super smart. She makes really interesting decisions. She's gaslit like crazy by her psychopath boyfriend. Like he gaslights her this entire film, and she does a really good job of navigating it, at least to an extent like that we had never seen. Even Gail, you know, is really smart as well. And even Sydney's best friend is pretty smart until she dies, but.
Right.
Tatum's
like,
Tatum.
She's almost too smart for her own good, I feel like.
I agree.
Or something, or she maybe thinks she's smarter than she is. But I think that's what all these characters are that, except for Sydney. They all think they're smarter, especially, I mean, the men do.
Yes.
for sure. I was going to ask you, well, because you're talking about how smart Sydney was, and I think she was, and she has all this like dark past thing that's like the trauma, and that to me is the heart of the movie and why it's like there's more going on than just kills and scares. But it's also it's fucked up, and like the like how it ends, you know, and then the fact that she actually does have sex with Billy, one of the killers, and I don't know if I have like I think we should just say that. I don't know what to say in response to that necessarily, but like that's a very bold thing, and also like you said, breaking the rules because normally that would mean she's dead.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, they say it a million times. If you're a virgin, you're safe. If you're, you know, if you've had sex, then you can die. And that's why it's like this mission of Billy's, who's like playing by these rules this whole time. He thinks he's living in a movie because he's crazy. Like, I have to have sex with her so then I can actually kill her, you know, like that's when it's going to happen once she's no longer a virgin, you know? So he goes for it. And it's like so fucked up on a psychological level. So when you think about these movies moving forward, I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler to say she survives because she's in all the movies, right?
Right,
It's like
right.
to think what a strong person this woman has to be to like hold it together is like pretty outstanding. And again, the gaslighting that this, I mean, there's a whole scene in the movie where he's talking to her and he's like, you should really get over this whole thing with your mom. Like, it's been like a year, which is insane because meanwhile he's out murdering people for what happened to his, like with his dad and her mom. So it's like, he's not over it clearly. And it's just so horrifying to watch her come, you know, be so gaslit to the point where she's like, you're right, I should get over it, like I will have sex with you, and he basically like talks her into it. It's just horrifying.
It's yeah, she apologizes for her trauma like almost literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a Dream Pop Nightmare said I audibly said oh no when he said that, and yes,
Yeah.
I that's exactly the visceral reaction. I think I like something squirmed inside me and died.
Yeah.
The craft of them. Yeah.
Yes, it's insanely smart. That's what I'm saying. It's so clever, and every, like, I feel like every piece of dialogue is layered in some way to some degree. And so that's why I think I can watch it as many times as I have and find something new from it, like every single time, you know?
What was new this time?
That actually is something that the gaslighting is something that I really focused on this time around that I hadn't before because I've been so focused on like the murdering of it all before. But I'm like, the psychological torture of this film is like very strong, as well as like the physical torture and murder of it all. You know, you're kind of, I don't want to say captivated by that, but it's very well executed, the physical stuff, and the performances are so great. But when you really start thinking about the mind stuff, I mean, it's like so fucked. So yeah.
That's the part that stuck with me too this time around, because it's much more scary than the actual ghost face of it all. I mean, I know that that's the point of the movie in a certain way, and like someone running after you with a knife, but like it's kind of like Jaws. You see that the like sort of the manipulation and the way that she is talked into it, and the way that like I just know that conversation is happening, and with a lot less, you know, fucked up backstories probably, but like, yeah. But like, I think it's a testament to the film and the franchise that yeah, Sidney Prescott like rises to the occasion, and it's not even like this is the first instance of fucked up things. She has the fact that her mom was raped and murdered before the movie even starts.
Right.
So, it's.
But I really like how, because I mean, the costume itself, you're right, it's not scary. It's like literally a kid's costume, right? When you think about it, it's the intention behind it that makes it so scary. And I feel like when Billy and Stu are doing their performances outside of the costume, it's 10 times scarier than anything done in the Ghostface costume. But I do really like how she dresses herself in that costume at the end of the film and attacks Billy, because it's such a, especially for the 90s, it's such a woman taking her power back moment after everything that he's done to her, that I just really, really like that directional choice. Like, that was really, really smart of them. It's so small, but for me, it's like very poignant.
No, it's also just, it's really cool. And she's the only one, I think, that, we're the only one that we see the face, right? So, and that's kind of a fun, it's a good reversal, you know? And to sort of, become, she's not like actually becoming the villain or anything to vanquish them, but
No.
it's also just cool to see Neve Campbell in that outfit, you know?
Yeah. I mean, she's such a badass. I just love her so much. I mean, her performance is like, I can go on and on about Lillard and Ulrich's performances, but I mean, really, Neve Campbell is like on another level. And to carry 5 of these films now, I mean, and Courtney Cox deserves it too, but like really Neve is just like insanely good, just so perfectly cast.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially in this one, like she definitely is the center. Like Gail gets to just play basically. Courtney Cox is just sort of the foil for everyone, and like gets to, and she's great as that.
She is. I feel like she's excited because, like, you know, that was the height of like Friends stardom. I feel like she was probably excited she got to play like a bitchy character instead of like, you know, like a nice sitcom Monica character. Like everybody loves me. Like, oh, I get to play a bitch. So it seems like she's having a lot of fun with that character, which is nice to see.
Well, not that I would say that Monica is the B word, but I would say that that is kind of in her character, the bossiness. Like, I'm not saying in terms of like what a white guy would say about that show. I think that like she's the high-strung person, so it's not a huge leap, I'll just say. That's all I'm saying.
She's neurotic in Friends,
right.
But I think that she's a lot more empathetic
and
like kind, and Gail becomes that as the series moves forward. Again, no spoiler knowing that she survives. Obviously, the main 3, Dewey, Gail, and Sydney, survive all these films, so it's like whatever. But I mean, she becomes more kind, but she's very selfish, and I don't think Monica is as selfish. She's like, I mean, even at the end of this movie, she's good at heart. Obviously, she helps Sydney at the end, but then immediately she snaps back to, okay, this is my next book. What am I going to get out of this? So it's like, you know, girl bossing a little too close to the sun, I guess.
Hey, yeah, you got to do it. Yeah. Well, and I think you're right. You can tell that she's like happy to be off the sound stage, you know, and getting to just play and be someone different and not being Monica. And hey, now she gets 2 franchises. Good for her, you know.
Good for her.
So now that we're talking about Gail, I wanted to run down the list of the number of Dawson's Creek kind of parallels we can find in the movie with the TV show. That's what everyone here really cares about, I'm sure. But for my sake, that's what I want. And that's what I noticed the most this time, because I never had watched it being like, oh, okay, so there's a Gail in Dawson's Creek who's also a reporter. There's, you know, there's, of course, the older brother who is a cop, just like Doug, and it's Dougie.
I've never even thought about that. Like, never. Because I don't think about Dawson's Creek when I'm watching Scream. Like, it's not the same, like, part of my brain, you know? So that's good. That's very true.
But what about when Skeet Ulrich, he's the one who goes through the window, right? And it's way different when he's doing it than Katie Holmes. Not that it should necessarily be okay, like, regardless, you're just breaking and entering or whatever. But, like, I mean, that's definitely, he used that again with Joey in Dawson's Creek, and that was a whole thing.
That's true, the climbing through the window.
Yeah, climbing through the window. Cotton Weary rhymes with Leary. Dawson Leary, there we go. Let's see, what else did I write down? Sydney is kind of like and Dawson is the killer all along.
Dawson was the killer all along. That's amazing.
If that's the Screen 5
10 points for Gryffindor. That was great.
Oh, that's a good point, Amza, that it's not just this where people went through windows. I was always jealous of that because I never had an upstairs. You know, I've never lived somewhere where, really? I've always been on a single story, like when it was like a Rambler house. And then when I'm in an apartment, that scenario wasn't happening. But video store. Someone's working at a video store like Pacey. We got Jamie Kennedy at the video store, just like Pacey and Dawson. And then, Sydney is kind of...
And Randy is kind of the Pacey-like character. Like, there's some, like, you know... I mean, I will say Randy's knowledge of films is more Dawson-like, but I do feel like his, like, silliness, good-hearted nature is, like, very Pacey-like. So I'm going to roll with that.
I like it. I think that is the last one I had other than... Well, I guess I had a couple more. Sydney is, like, kind of an androgynous name, like Joey, how it's, like, it could go... as a girl or a boy.
That's true.
And then the other thing is that it has a small town vibe, even though when I'm watching this movie, it doesn't feel like they're in the middle of nowhere, even though
that's what I was going to say.
It doesn't feel like Cape Side or like that. I mean, it's shot in Santa Rosa, California, but it does kind of have, it just feels like the suburbs to me. That's what it feels like.
To me, it feels like the middle of nowhere, just because the first scene with Casey Becker, Drew Barrymore,
Right.
definitely feels like it's obviously out in the middle of nowhere. That would have never worked if she had neighbors right there and
That's true.
hanging her up in a tree. And then when Sydney gets dropped off from school, it shows that she literally lives on a hill in like the middle of like, there's just hills and hills and hills of nothingness behind her. So it's actually kind of surprising that like more doesn't take place at her house, but yeah, it is definitely like a small town. That's what I was gonna say. Woosboro has Cape Side vibes for sure.
Okay, I guess you're right. I think it was more like, I didn't see it as middle of nowhere. I just saw it as these are rich people that have big backyards. That was like sort of, but I guess, sure. That's what it was in 1996. Let's see. Do you want to run through all the different references in other movies? There's a million, but like, in terms of like beyond Dawson's Creek, obviously like Billy Loomis as Dr. Loomis from the Halloween movies, you know, Donald Pleasance, and then Fred the janitor, of course, Freddy Krueger showing up for like a second, or like some guy as Fred. But I mean, I could go on forever on that stuff. Although I want to say that Wes Craven has Drew Barrymore say all the other Elm Street movies are crap. And I heartily disagree with that. She does say that.
She does say that.
She does say that. I mean, he's definitely playing with it. But he also then references one of the best kills in Dream Warriors, which I guess spoilers for that movie. But like the TV death, you know, he sort of does his own. Oh, that was Wes Craven as the janitor, Kyle. Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, it all comes together. He is the janitor of our lives, cleaning those hallways. But yeah, like because the what's her name gets killed by the TV, like you know, Welcome to Prime Time, and then in this she drops the TV on Stu, which is great.
Oh, and my theory is that Stu is not dead. That is and I'm holding on to that. Like I think that he's going to be in this movie that's coming out. So.
Ooh.
Let me lay down my theory officially right now. Stu is not dead. Matthew Lillard is coming back, and we will see him in the 5th movie.
Wow. I love that take, and I also hope it's true just because, like you said, Matthew Lillard's the best. He's clearly the best performer in this movie, and I was thinking about his career and sort of, I mean, in a good way, I haven't seen very many of his things, but I'm also just, it sort of feels like maybe I'm wrong and ignorant of his career, but I feel like there was some missed opportunities where he didn't get to play just like he got to in this movie very often after.
I mean, I think he's done some really, I mean, he did SLC Punk, which was, you know, incredible.
Oh, yeah.
He also, you know, did the Scooby-Doo movies, and he's played Shaggy in every single, like, adaptation of, like, whether it's been cartoon or live action. So,
he's working, yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely, he was in this recent show, Good Girls. But I do think, I mean, it's major motion pictures. I think that he could have been in a lot more just because I find that him so incredibly talented. Like that last sequence of them in the kitchen with like him calling the phone and he gets hit by the phone, like a lot of that was improv by Lillard, and I think that's insane to me. Oh yeah, she's all that. Yeah.
But that was wasn't that before this? Or I guess maybe not. It might have been like around the same time.
I want to say She's All That is 98 or 99. So this was 96. So this was early. Yeah.
They were talking about the millennium in this movie, which I thought was pretty funny. Like 4 years before the movie.
I thought that too. When Randy says it's the millennium, I noticed that this is the first time I've ever noticed that too. I was like, wait, that's 4 years before the millennium. I don't know about that, but okay.
Yeah, in my head, I was like, I didn't think it felt like it was a 99 movie all of a sudden when that line happened. But yeah, I guess Y2K was just a huge deal. It was like looming over our head, just like Michael Myers.
Exactly. Oh, my best friend is super mad that I forgot that he was in She's All That because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm really sorry. I am so sorry. I'm sorry. How could I ever forget? My bad.
Do we have to hang up now, Kat? Did we?
I know. Does this need to be over? Did I embarrass myself because I forgot these things?
No, I was the one prefacing myself as the ignorant one, which I like to do.
That's okay. But as far as like references to the film, I mean, honestly, we would be here for more than live would allow us because everything about the movie is a reference. It's a reference to other movies. It's a reference to itself. And again, that's what broke so many boundaries. The fact that because in so many horror movies up to Scream, nobody ever talked about the horror genre, right? Like it's almost like everybody in a horror movie was unaware that horror movies were real things, and I think that's what motivated everyone to act stupidly. So when they're in this film and they're aware of those movies and they're talking about what's smart and what's not smart, it's interesting to like watch them break those rules. Although I will say, and this always bothers me, is they break the rules so many times throughout this film, but then Sydney's on the phone and she's like, it's so stupid when girls run upstairs instead of running out the door, and then she immediately runs up the stairs.
But that was wasn't that because she tried the door and it was locked and she couldn't do it? So like they were definitely tongue-in-cheeking on that. But like,
for sure. I mean, it was definitely intentional. How could it not be? But like, it always lands kind of wonky for me.
No, I agree. And it's sort of like I would like it not to do that, but it elicited a laugh, and I think that was the point of that whole thing. Because like we're in on the joke, and I think this movie sort of had to, you know, basically force all other horror movies and slasher movies to sort of like take notice and be like, okay, now we know what the rules are, do better, you know, basically. And I'm not sure that's always happened, but
no, but it does happen in Scream though. I mean, I also think, you know, a lot of it is because everything that's, you know, based on Sydney's story is about, you know, slut shaming. And I think that for the first time in a horror movie, it's pivoted in a way where it's looked at in like a negative connotation. Like the fact that her mom and she is being called a slut, or like that's wrong, obviously. And that's bad. And that like, instead of funny, or I don't know, it just works for me. Like that aged well in that sense, I think. I
think it aged well also with just how toxic the men are in this movie, because I think in a lot of, you know, maybe even She's All That, Amsa can tell me if it doesn't happen or not, but I feel like there's a lot of just the way men talk about sex with their girlfriends or that they deserve it, all that stuff. In this movie, it's very much posited that they are in the wrong for doing this, which only makes it more harder for us to watch when Sydney does have sex with Billy.
I agree. I think that aged really well. The only thing that I think, besides it being obviously way too white, way too straight, all those things that are like blanket statements for any 90s, early aughts movie, is there's some fat phobia in this movie. And I just always like to like point out the things that don't age well, because even though I'm praising this film, it's like, if there's a problematic thing, I want to make sure that that resonates. So there is some fat phobia that like really bothers me. Obviously, I'm sure that won't be anywhere in the movie coming out this week, but that's like the one thing I felt like really didn't age well. Fat phobia.
What I mean, I agree with you. And actually, I've been noticing a lot of fat phobia, and like when I've been doing these movies with friends, it's just like, and I remember it not phasing me when I watched it the first time. So I feel terrible that they were in it, but I'm also sort of glad in a sense of like, oh, now I'm noticing this, and
you've grown.
Yeah. I guess that's growth. Oh, look at us.
Definitely growth.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of growth, I think we have to do Fuck, Marry, Kill now.
I knew you were gonna say that. excellent segue. Let's do it.
Thank you.
You first.
Me
Scream
first?
Movie.
You first.
No. You first. Fuck, Marry, Kill, Scream movie, 1996. Go.
Okay. Let's see. Fuck Stu, marry Henry Winkler, kill Skeet. And then, but I mean, the real answer is I'd want to marry Sydney. No, I'll still stick with fuck with Stu, because Matthew Lillard, I mean, even in this movie, he'd be insane probably. So, and he's the most talented. So I'm just drawn in by the talents there. And I mean, sure. I mean, the real answer is probably like Drew Barrymore, especially in this movie. But yeah.
Gosh, I mean, for me, it's hard to choose. I feel like I have two people for every choice.
Okay, give us the two, and then I'll see if I can convince you on one or something.
Okay, so for fuck, I'm also on a Stu. I mean, I love Stu, even though, I mean, he just seems like he would be a real good time. But then also Drew Barrymore. I mean, like, come on, she's Drew Barrymore. Like, holy shit, you know? So I'm kind of like split down the middle between those two people. That would be my fuck. my Mary, obviously Randy would make a great husband, keep me laughing. He knows all the rules, so we would be safe. But I would also like to marry Sydney because she's smart. She obviously can survive this shit. But then also, like, does that mean a serial killer would be following us for our entire lives? Like, because she cannot get rid of this curse. Like, it's like everywhere she goes, somebody wants to murder her. I don't know. So we might have to go with Randy for that.
That's good logic there. Yeah.
For sure. And then I'm going to kill Billy. I mean, like, I don't care how hot Skeet Ulrich is. Like, you're a gaslighting, psychopathic. I mean, Stu is also psycho, don't get me wrong, but, like, Billy is just creepy and horrible and, ugh. I mean, Skeet Ulrich, great job, but, like, ugh. The ick. It immediately gives me the ick.
the ick with Skeet, yes. I guess I get the attraction with Skeet Ulrich. It always just makes me laugh. Skeet Ulrich, or Ulrich, okay. I don't know how to pronounce it, but
it's Ulrich, I think, but yeah.
Yeah, I never had to. I never grew up with him in a way, like, because I didn't watch Scream when I was like 10 or 12, so it's more like I got to look at him afterwards and just sort of be like, oh, he was a thing, and he is a thing, and he was in that great TV show I never watched as well.
He's also in The Craft, which is one of the best movies.
The Craft is awesome. Yeah, The Craft is great.
Also with Neve Campbell.
I mean, that might be an AMZA movie in the future of movies with friends, right? Yeah, an AMZA movie. What do we got? Do you have any other exciting, fun factoids here?
Here's one. What did AMSA just say? The movie Numbers wouldn't have done so well with Sandra Bullock had Matthew Lillard not played Stu. I could make a PowerPoint. Please do, because I will read anything about Matthew Lillard. So go for it.
I want a Matthew Lillard PowerPoint. The world needs a Lillard PowerPoint. I mean, I know he's in Twin Peaks as well, The Return.
Yes.
A very small role, but still great. And yeah, I actually haven't seen the Scooby-Doos. This episode is now just talking about how I haven't seen things, which is great.
That's okay. You can make a list.
Well, I was gonna did you end up watching Black Christmas?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay. Because I mean, that one to me has the best scary phone calls of any horror movie, but I haven't seen the movie that Scream is evoking, and that's When a Stranger Calls. So I was going to give us both homework, all of us homework if we want, to watch When a Stranger Calls, or at least the opening scene, or I think it's an opening scene or something with a phone call that Wes Craven definitely was inspired by. And I think it's on Amazon Prime. So I might try and watch that before tomorrow, but we have 2 movies to watch tomorrow.
2 movies to watch by tomorrow, so good luck on that. I'm making no promises watching that, because watching these other 2 movies is going to be a challenge, but I'm up for it.
Okay, well, I think we did it, Kat. I think we've screamed. I'm going to scream, and hopefully my neighbor Oliver understands that this is a joke. Ah! Okay, there we go. It felt good.
Yeah. Good. Scream for me a little bit, because I'm not trying to make everyone think that I'm getting murdered, okay?
Yeah, I think now it sounds like I just murdered someone, so hopefully.
This is true.
But we have evidence that it's not true, but although you can't see my arms. So
I don't know. If someone were to watch the first few minutes of this live, I think that there may be proof that you might be a serial killer after all, but it's okay.
Fair enough. Yeah. How'd I do on that, by the way? Was I scary or weird?
You were pretty creepy. I could barely see you, but you were creepy and weird for sure. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think it might have been too dark, but that was my last second decision where I was like, oh, I think it's better if I'm in the dark. But anyway.
I mean, you're a white dude, so I believe it. It's good. It works for me.
That's all it is. And on that note, Kat, thank you for screaming with me, and thank you all for joining us for this experiment, the first of our IG Lives of this week. And Kat, when will we be back tomorrow?
We will be back tomorrow at the same time, 7 p.m. PST, to talk about Scream 2 and Scream 3. We have bundled those because, they're the middle child of this franchise, and they can be grouped together.
So you're now shaming all middle children out there.
Oh my gosh. No, wait a second. There are some things to love, but there are also some things to not love. Not about middle children, but about these two movies.
About these movies. I understand. Yeah. But that's probably true for all children and all people.
Yes.
So we're all complex. We're not just good, bad. We're just all in the middle here. And they're used to it, those middle children. I'm an oldest child, and you can tell in every fiber of my being.
I'm an only child, and there's plenty to say about us. So.
Yeah, you're the problem, Kat. It's all you. Okay. Well, tell your friends about this, because this will now be put on YouTube for all enjoyment, and we will see you all tomorrow at the next phone call. Ghostface is calling.
Get ready.
Pick up. Ah!